All right. Sorry about the 1 week delay, but the Xbox 2 is now live. I'm one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, and I am with, as always, my co-host Jez Corden from Windows Central. What's going on, Jez? We haven't talked. We haven't done a podcast in quite a bit. So, how you been, man?
Indeed. I've been good, man. Busy, sleepy, insomnia, awake till 10 a.m., sleep until 4 p.m. My sleep cycle is dead, man. It is just totally dead. But I've been playing lots of games, whining a lot on Twitter about micropayments, as anyone who follows me is probably really fed up of by now. But, I think people know what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. I mean, we have topics from last week since we didn't do the show, since I wasn't feeling good, and then we were trying to do it like Thursday or Friday, but it just never worked out. But we couldn't miss this week. We had lots to talk about. I'm going to run down the topics for this week. So we have Phil Spencer talking about new work has begun on first-party games, Jez.
Oh my god.
It's an interesting point because that is what Xbox gamers wanted to hear, right?
That is,
it
does feel like they're pushing hard on that.
They are. We, of course, you could also call this the Star Wars Battlefront 2 episode because, oh my lord, a lot of things happen with Star Wars Battlefront and microtransactions. And we're going to talk about all that. We also got some early Xbox One sales info that we're going to talk about. It's going to be a really great podcast, as always, as me and Jez only provide the bestest of podcasts. So make sure you guys strap it in, hit that like button, all that good stuff. Share this link out on social media so we can get more people in here. But as always, before we even get into the news topics, we're going to talk some games. And Jez, you always go first. So what have you been up to? What have you been playing? You've been buying loot crates. Is that what you've been doing? I know you.
I don't need to buy loot crates because I've played the game pretty much non-stop since EA Access, and I'm so far ahead of most players that I'm just so godlike and I MVP almost every game. But nah, not really. That's a complete lie. But yeah, I have been playing Battlefront a lot, even though I've railed on it, hated on it. I gave it 5 out of 10 in my review, which is the lowest score I've ever given a game. But I still can't stop playing it. It's just fun, It's fun, broken, a total mess, but it's fun. Underneath all that corporate garbage from EA, there beats the heart of an amazing game, and I just hope that DICE can fix it. But I'm not optimistic, man, because I've gotten to I'm level 25 in my heavy now. I've run out of challenges to get, which means I'm not getting credits anymore. I've run out of, I don't get loot crates very much because the credit flow is really low. The daily crates are garbage. They just give you a tiny, tiny little bit of loot, which isn't enough to progress. So my heavy can't really progress anymore, which has made the game really boring for me because I don't really want to play any other character. And when you get a loot crate in Battlefront 2 right now, half the time, well, I say half the time, most of the time, it's a pile of crap you don't want in the crate. You can't progress the way you want to. And so my interest in Battlefront 2 is rapidly dying off. And so, DICE, if you're listening to this, which I highly doubt you are, but if you are, I'm not the only person who feels this way. People who are getting up to that sort of level 20, level 30 level in Battlefront 2, they are finding that the progression has been designed to encourage you to buy these fucking random loot crates. And people aren't happy, man. And DICE and EA have been really quiet about it since that statement last week.
Yeah, we'll actually talk about all that stuff, but I mean, the game itself, I thought the campaign was just good. Honestly, like it was nothing special. It's not to say there aren't cool moments within the campaign because there are, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody, and I'm sure Jez doesn't want. Have you even finished the campaign, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Did you like the campaign?
before I write my review. Um, yes and no. I mean, the thing is, I am such a Star Wars fanboy that I will play and watch any canon Star Wars stuff and just
This is
accept it.
canon. This is canon.
Yeah, exactly. It's canon. So I had to play it, and I enjoy it purely because it's Star Wars canon, and I live that universe. So, but the thing is, I thought the writing was bad. The pacing was bad. People of data might. I'm not going to spoil anything about the story, by the way, because you should just go and play it if you're a Star Wars fan. But I thought the writing was pretty bad. The pacing of the story, well, not necessarily the writing was bad, but the structure of the story was bad. It was things happened way faster than they should have done, and they weren't explained very well. And as a result, the impact some moments should have had in the story didn't have the impact they could have had if it was written better. And people have data mined the game and found loads of lines of dialogue that wasn't used for the story. So it looks like EA might have cut things from the story to package in a free update later, quote unquote free update.
Surprise,
funded by your soul. But who knows about that. But in any case, the AI was terrible as well. The AI, awful, abysmal. Like the gameplay was terrible, I thought. I mean, you said you thought it was all right. I thought it was terrible. I thought the story mode was boring and slow, and the AI was terrible. And I just felt like I was playing a multiplayer match against the dumbest opponents ever. So
the game was incredibly easy. It was incredibly easy. Yeah. And you're right. I didn't really think it was boring. It was over too quick. It was a 4-hour experience, and it was just like, oh my god, okay. Like just when it was kind of starting to get good, because the later missions, the last like 3 levels, were all like I thought really well done, and it was just like, man, I wish it was a little bit longer. I didn't care for the main character. I didn't care for Aiden or any of the main characters, right? Like I just never cared for them. So it was like, but I will say though, Jazz, that game looks pretty. That game looks really pretty.
Well, that's the thing about that game. It is a masterpiece. Like in terms of its art direction, DICE are wizards. They are fucking wizards, and nobody can take away the achievement of what they've done in terms of its art direction. It is absolutely stunning. It is so authentic Star Wars. It bleeds authenticity. It's just he fucked it with those loot crates.
Yeah, and the multiplayer is fun. Okay, like I'm not a fan of all the modes, but I really did enjoy Starfighter Assault. I know Criterion did the vehicle stuff in this game. The vehicle stuff I thought was really good. So I'm a fan of Starfighter Assault. I'm also a fan of Heroes and Villains and Blast. I'm not a fan of Galactic Assault, and I'm not a fan of Strike.
I love Galactic Assault, and I'll tell you why. It's because heavies are overpowered, and I only play heavy, and I just pop sentry mode and mow down like 8 people, and then go and hide in a corner, wait till sentry mode comes off cooldown, and then pop out again and do it again, and then get MVP purely on assists because you don't even need to hit anyone with sentry mode because it's got an area effect and you can shoot people around corners, which is also hilarious.
Yeah, so, it's oh man, it is enjoyable. However, the progression system, Jez, it is so god awful in this game. And it's in the microtransaction system and the loot crates, like they exist because they know it's awful. It was built into the progression system, and it makes it really, really bad. The idea that
it's terrible.
It's terrible. It's not explained well how to level up your character, how to get the extra card slots. You got to like get more cards for your character. But the only way to get more cards for your character are to buy the loot crates, which, with a certain amount of credits, which you do get a lot of credits in the beginning because there are challenges you complete and stuff like that. But you may not get a card for the character that you want. And they give you crafting parts, which means you can craft any of the cards available if you are the certain level. But it's like, oh, man, it's like you want to focus on one character so you can build him up, and it's like you focus on, say, an assault character like myself, you're not going to have anything for your officer or another thing, and then you're certainly not going to have anything for your heroes or villains, and or your starfighter stuffs. Oh, it's kind of ridiculous.
Like, whenever I get the opportunity to spawn as a hero, I always spawn as Boba Fett. I've only got one card for Boba Fett, and I know for a fact that I played Boba Fett more than any other hero. But the fact is, I have to save my crafting parts to progress my heavy. So what can I do? You know, it's just terrible, man. And they know it's terrible. You're right. When you said they know it's terrible, you're totally right. And they say things like, they made the loot crates this way to persuade people to try out other classes. It's bullshit, man. They know that people will only want to play one character, and they know people want to progress one character at a time because they'll have telemetry from Battlefield. When Battlefield lets you progress the characters you want. I mean, yeah, even Battlefield has these loot crate things, and it has skip ahead packs as well, which let you instantly get access to weapons, which, you know, they aren't more powerful weapons by any means, but it lets you get access to different weapons faster. But at least in Battlefield, you can progress the characters you want to bloody well progress. Now, I can't progress Boba Fett because I've got to save my crafting parts for my bloody heavy. And the only way that I can progress Boba Fett by any sort of reasonable speed is to buy the stupid loot crates, and they know it, Rand. They know it. And when they went in that Reddit AMA and they were saying like, oh, we wanted to make this system fun, we wanted to give people options, and we wanted unlocking Darth Vader to give you a sense of accomplishment at 60,000 credits. It was just lies, Rand. They lied to everyone. Not only did they lie to fans of DICE and the Battlefield series, they lied to the fans of Star Wars, who are some of the most passionate fans in the world. They lied to fans of Battlefront, which is a beloved classic IP. And yeah, it's trampling over several different fan bases, and it's just blown up in their faces so badly.
A lot to say about this.
I'm fucking passionate about Star Wars, man. I love Star Wars.
An outlet to talk about. I know you. Have you written anything for Windows Central about this at all? Or
I've written too much about this for Windows Central. I've written at least 4 articles about this stuff for Windows Central, and obviously I wrote the Battlefront 2 review. I wrote the review in progress. My Battlefront 2 review is 3,000 words long. I think like the only review I've written that's longer than that is my Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain review, which I think was 3,500 words long. Nobody's going to read those 3,000 words. That article was for me, Rand. I wrote that article for me, nobody else. Fuck, it pisses me off so much.
Well, hold your rage, because we'll talk about the microtransactions and the loot box stuff in a later segment. You know, this is just talking about the game itself. So, besides Star Wars, which you have a lot of pent up anger. Remember, anger leads to the dark side.
The dark side. Yeah.
And anger leads to suffering, and suffering leads to hate.
Yeah, I tell you, just like slightly off topic here, but it's always great writing articles about Star Wars because there's so many puns and references you can make because
that is true.
So quotable.
Have you played anything else besides Star Wars? Have you played the newest Xbox One exclusive that everybody's talking about, Super Lucky's Tale?
I did play Super Lucky's Tale briefly. It's really, really not my kind of game.
Oh.
It has no chainsaws, no guns, there's no blood. I don't think there's even any death in Super Lucky's Tale. So it was just too happy, too colorful, no chainsaws. I couldn't play it. I just couldn't play it, man.
Couldn't play it.
I couldn't play it. It's too happy for me.
What about other exclusive?
I played.
You play Disneyland Adventures?
Play what? Sorry.
Disneyland Adventures. Did you walk around in Disneyland?
No. Hate Disneyland.
Did you play Rush, a Disney Pixar adventure, the other big time exclusive?
Nope. Too happy. Too many colors. Too happy.
So what else?
I'd play Rush if you could put spikes on the wheels of the car, or like in Mad Max where they've got like chainsaws on the car and spikes and stuff. I play it then, but as it stands, no. Rush does not have any of that stuff in it. I have played a game called Road Rage, which I've been waiting for a really long time. I don't know if you've heard of Road Rage, but it's
I've also heard it's like beyond awful though.
yeah. So for those who don't know, Road Rage is it's sort of like a spiritual successor to classic Road Rash games from like PS1 and even older, I think. But I played the one on the PS1, which are basically like these motorcycle combat games. And I saw they were making. It feels like they announced Road Rage years ago. At this point, it's got to be at least 2 or 3 years they announced this game, and yeah, it was an indie game. I didn't have particularly high expectations for it, but wow, it is bad. It's got the worst vehicle handling ever. The combat is just terrible, and it's just, yeah, I didn't have high expectations, but it's pretty bad.
Wait. You mean to tell me you have an Xbox One X, the beast console that does 4K, and you're sitting here playing Road Rage from Maximum Games, well knowing that it's going to be trash.
I didn't know it was going to be trash.
Oh, come on. You know it was going to be trash.
I had hopes. But, what else?
Does it look good in 4K, though?
It's not a 4K enhanced.
Oh, so resolution doesn't make games better. Imagine that.
No, and it's funny because I've seen a few people saying like, oh, because Homefront: The Revolution is 4K enhanced on Xbox One X, and I went back to check out Homefront: The Revolution, and no, resolution doesn't make games. It gets to make games better, I'm afraid.
I don't know. I saw the dude from Digital Foundry say that like Homefront's like the most changed game since for the X. Like it actually works now.
I mean, they have updated that game a lot, but the AI is still terrible. The gunplay is still terrible. The resolution can't fix everything, sadly. But you know what, Rand? I haven't actually been playing that much. I've just been playing Battlefront 2 mostly when I have had chance to play. But actually, tell a lie. I've been playing lots of Windows mixed reality games in VR.
Oh, Jesus, here we go. Windows mixed reality.
Man, you know, I was a VR hater. You know, I was a VR hater.
Are you gonna tell me that you're on board now? Please don't do this to me, Jez. Please.
I believe.
No. Next thing you're gonna tell me PSVR now, because they got a lot of games for the PSVR, and it's on sale.
PSVR is a toy. Mixed reality. It's a toy. Mixed reality is the real deal, and I'll tell you why. It's because I can get Twitter notifications in the middle of my games in mixed reality, whereas in PSVR you're sort of locked in to the PlayStation experience. Whereas in PSVR you're still in Windows, so you can multitask. Like I can play Arizona Sunshine, which is like a zombie shooter where you shoot with your hands, and it feels really great and accurate. But at the same time, I can still get my Twitter notifications. I can still get Xbox Live achievements, and I can switch from the game to Twitter, reply to a tweet, and then jump straight back in the game. Whereas in PSVR, you have to take the headset off, put the motion controllers down, get back to your laptop, blah blah blah, and it's with Windows Mixed Reality, it's still clunky as hell.
Jeez.
But it's eliminated a lot of those systemic problems with VR for me, and I actually kind of like it. I played Minecraft in VR yesterday, and it was amazing. It was amazing, Ran. I was just like you, man. I was just like you.
Well, the thing is, like, look,
in VR and stuff like that. And
I'm not really hating on VR. It has to come like a price point I'm willing to try, because I'm not going to go to the store and I'm not going to like demo it there, because I ain't putting on those glasses other people use. I'm sorry. It's one thing to use a controller and wash your hands.
Are you germaphobe?
No, I'm not. That's the thing. But I'm not putting
that sounds like germophobia.
No, look. It's one thing to like grab a controller at GameStop and play the game. You wash your hands, whatever, right? It's another entirely thing to like slide on this thing that goes on your face that other people have been sweating in all day. I'm not
Dude.
doing that. Like I'm not that big of a germaphobe, but I'm definitely not getting like
Dude,
you never know what people do in that stuff.
I've used VR headsets at trade shows that have been sweated on by hundreds of people.
Disgusting. You're disgusting.
You're a germaphobe. You're a
I'm
full-on germaphobe. We
Look,
learned something about Rand today. So, like, I'm not going to troll him about Barbie games anymore. I'm going to troll him about germophobia.
so like for me, VR is still too expensive. Like, yes, I have PlayStation 4 Pro, and I want to say that PSVR thing is like, I don't know, $300 now or $250. Still too expensive. And I've known, well,
it's not worth it.
Well, yeah, but also like Windows mixed reality, I don't have a PC that could run it because I don't have a PC that can run any game for the most part.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, the barrier to entry is still extreme. It's like, you need a GTX 1050 or 60 to run it competently, and like I run Windows mixed reality off my Razer Blade, which is a crazy expensive laptop, generously paid for by Windows Central. Thank you very much, Windows Central. And but there's no way in hell I would have bought a PC or a headset specifically for VR. I mean, even though I'm saying it now that I really enjoy VR experience, that's mainly because I didn't have to pay for any of it.
I see how it is now.
But yeah, if I did, if it was me and my own money, I think like I'd still be hesitant because a lot of the experiences are they're still rudimentary. Like Arizona Sunshine, for example. Arizona Sunshine is arguably the best VR game on Windows mixed reality right now. It looks like a PS2 game. It looks like. Did you ever play Time Crisis, the old light gun game?
Yes, I played that. Yeah.
It seriously, it literally took me back to my childhood playing Time Crisis in the movie theater, like on an arcade machine. That's what it felt like, both in terms of the graphics and both in terms of like using a light gun to shoot. It took me back there. And it's like, what is this really worth the GTX 1050 and the headset? And I've got the cheapest one. I've got the cheapest Windows mixed reality headset, which costs $350 for the headset and the motion controllers, which ain't cheap. And yeah, Super Hot VR is also very, very good too. And but the thing is, Rand, if they can get this working on Xbox One X, that would be totally worth it then, because you'd have the Xbox One X, which you probably already own anyway if you're an Xbox fan, and then you can pick up a cheap Windows mixed reality headset, and they're going to come down in price even more over the next year. They've already been discounted $100 for Black Friday, so next year they'll be like discounted $200 maybe.
What about as Gopher, my buddy Gopher, who's a huge VR fan? He loves it for the sexy films.
It's funny you mention that, because like last week they turned on Steam VR for Windows mixed reality, which is obviously like one of their big E3 announcements was it E3? I think it was E3 when they announced Steam VR for Windows mixed reality. I don't know, but anyway, they announced that they weren't going to rely on the Windows Store for VR. They were gonna bring Steam VR to Windows mixed reality, and thank God they did, because there's only about 4 games on the Windows Store for VR right now, and one of the most popular games for Steam VR is this game called Galgun VR.
Oh, and it's like game of the year.
It's like you go around shooting anime girls' clothes off with a VR gun, and then
gun, right?
Yeah, with the love gun. You know about it.
Of course.
You've already played it.
He talks about how great Galgun is, or whatever it is, and he hopes it comes to Xbox for achievements.
Are you projecting, man?
Look at him in chat. He's right there.
I'm going to buy Galgun VR. Screw it. I'm going to buy it. I'm too curious. You shoot the anime girls' clothes off, and then take pictures of them with a smartphone camera. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most popular VR games. So, whatever, man.
Let's take a detour from this VR topic. You know what? Really quickly, I wanted to mention that Xbox 2 podcast is partnering with Chicken Spaghetti. He is providing 4 months of Xbox Game Pass for one lucky winner, which we're gonna run a contest for. So look for links to ways to enter sometime soon, maybe after the podcast, maybe next week. But one lucky winner will win 4 months of Xbox Game Pass, which is pretty cool. I just wanted to mention that. And also yesterday, I got a super chat that wanted me to tell you, hey governor,
hey governor.
So I played Call of Duty World War II, Jazz. I'm almost done. I got like one level left.
Bad game.
Campaign. Are you what? Excuse me, sir?
Bad game. Call of Duty. I can't play Call of Duty. It's just
Call of Duty. The campaign's actually pretty well done. I'll have an in-depth review for it tomorrow.
I admit I haven't touched the campaign. I'm talking about pure multiplayer. I just can't stand it, man.
Yeah, well, I don't really care about the multiplayer and all that stuff. I really have enjoyed the campaign of Call of Duty World War II, so that's pretty good. But that's the games we played this week. Obviously, you can tell Jazz is a little addicted to VR. But let's get into the first topic, maybe the most important one, and that's new Xbox first-party games.
Yay! We need a sound effect there that's like cheering and fanfare because people have been so emo about this.
Yeah. More first-party games, yeah, because that's what the whole narrative of Xbox has no games. When people say that, they don't really mean Xbox has no games. It just means that Xbox has no exclusives they like, right?
You're replying to my pandering tweet.
Yeah. we have a $5 super chat from Roastwitch. That's a pretty damn good username, and he says, "You demand, Rand." No, you demand. You demand, Rump Roastwitch. Thank you very much. So Phil Spencer took to Twitter as he normally does, and he replied to Tim. And Tim asked him about investing in first party and stuff like that. And Phil said that he's happy with the hardware. They've done the work with back compatibility and Xbox Live and the operating system. And the next task is building first party and investing. You think this is happening, Jez? Like for real? Like it's one of those gifts where like it's happening. Are we?
I'll tell you what. Under Phil Spencer, first party has become absolutely critical to Xbox. Absolutely critical for their future plans. Because we've talked about it on the show before, man. The future of Xbox isn't the console under your TV. The future of Xbox is the subscription service you pay for. And when all this goes to the cloud, and it will go to the cloud, you're always going to have native hardware as well running on your TV. But eventually, this is all going to be like PlayStation now. It's all going to be in the cloud. The only way they can compete is to offer a better service and to offer better exclusives. So it's become mission critical to have those exclusives on the Xbox platform.
Mission critical. Okay.
I would say, yeah, it's become mission critical for them. And this is another reason like why backwards compatibility was so important, because it wasn't just about giving Xbox fans what they wanted. It was about having the biggest library of digital titles to compete with the likes of Steam and stuff like that. And Steam has like the whole Win32 legacy backing it up, right? So for Xbox to have the Xbox backwards compatibility lineup coming in, that sort of competes with Steam a little bit better. And PlayStation, I think PlayStation now do have a few old school PlayStation titles as well, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, I think they might. I'm not exactly sure on that though.
Yeah, I need to look into that myself. But it's going to be about the quality of the library, And we've got like Gears of War 4 heading to Xbox Game Pass soon. You have to wonder if it's going to be Xbox Game Pass itself that's going to be the
driver. I mean, they have it on sale right now for $1. You can get a month for $1, and there's 150 games on it. They just added Gears 4, Halo 5 is in there, Recore's in there. There's a lot of value for whether it's $10 or $1. But there was a rumor that dropped today, and we're gonna go along with it. I don't think it's true. Is that the Forza game's been kind of leaked? It's called Forza Horizon 4 Drift. And it's set in Tokyo. Did you see that?
What? Is that real?
No, there's no way. Like, there was artwork to go along with it. There's no way it's real. Like, number one, it's subtitled Forza Horizon 4 Drift, right? Which they haven't done subtitles for any of the Forza games, to my knowledge, let alone the Horizon games.
Uh-uh.
It's supposed to be set in Tokyo, but I mean that's kind of like
I'll play it.
like playground games, right? We know the 3 exclusives coming this year. We don't know what's coming at the end of the year. You would assume a Forza Horizon 4 is on the docket, right? Forza Horizon 3 blew up so much so that me and you have both heard they didn't expect that much from Forza Horizon 3, right? They were completely taken aback by the success of that game.
Yep, the marketing focus was on Gears of War, not Forza Horizon. And it's Forza Horizon that was the game that blew up and not Gears. Although I've heard Gears did pretty well as well. But not Horizon well. Forza Horizon was the game from Xbox last year. And it surprised me. I hate racing games, and I even enjoyed Horizon.
Because it's a great game.
Yeah, it's a great game. There's no chainsaws in it, Ran, and I still enjoyed it.
I know. But so if you take Phil at his word, even though he said this, he wants to build first party back in 2014, like when he originally took office, and we've seen him downsize first party more than like expanded. Like he shut down Twisted Pixel. Well, I don't know if he shut them down. He got rid of them. He shut down Press Play. He shut down Lionhead, canceled Fable Legends, canceled Scalebound. We haven't actually seen him actually build up a studio essentially since the Coalition, right? Like when they bought Gears of War, they put the Coalition together, even though they were already there with Black Tusk. Do you expect any sort of announcements anytime soon? Like to maybe be like, okay, like Phil's talking about it. He's talked about it quite a bit, right? And here's some fruit. Are we going to have to wait until E3 this year, or E3 next year, to actually get a sense of what Phil wants to do?
I think they might announce some smaller games or maybe even acquisitions. Because remember, he also said in a recent interview that acquisitions were on the table. I think there might be some announcements come around GDC, which is in February, I think, off the top of my head. So I think there might be something cool they announced at GDC. There's no insider knowledge there. That's total guesswork by me. But if they were going to announce something, it would be around GDC, I would think. Maybe an acquisition or maybe some big indie games that are coming to the platform. Hopefully something on maybe something from Japan or something like that, because Aaron Greenberg's in Japan right now. Phil Spencer's been to Japan at least twice this year. Probably more, I don't know, but he's been spending a lot of time in Japan trying to drill up more support from that side of the pond, and we could see some of the fruits of that around GDC. But I think any of the big heavy hitters, they're going to save for E3, and I think that's just from the way that I've seen the way Microsoft do the marketing cycle. They kind of they focus on a set of games, and then when they ship, they shift to the next AAAs that are coming out, rather than dilute the focus on State of Decay, Sea of Thieves, and Crackdown 3. I think they'll wait until those games are shipped or close to shipping before they start announcing more games. So I don't think they're going to announce another big AAA game between now and E3, personally. Could be wrong. They could do it. But I think they like having good E3s. And I think under Phil, Xbox hasn't really had what I would describe as a disappointing E3. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking at, I want a new IP from Xbox, then the last two have been disappointing, right?
I mean, they've had aspects of disappointment, but none of them have been EA grade disappointment.
Well, none of them have been like 2010 Connect and let's showcase all these Connect, games on stage.
Project Milo.
Like, hey, here's Connectimals and stuff, and none of that stuff. But what about Bluehole? There's always this talk surrounding Bluehole and PUBG. Recently, it came out that Tencent has the exclusive rights to publish that game in China. Z Huge, who I told you this before, came out and said on Reset Era with the new NeoGAF that Microsoft recently tried to buy Bluehole, but it fell through. and that it's not really a surprise. It's not really public information, but he said everybody wants to buy Bluehole right now, so it's not a really a surprise. What do you think about all that stuff?
Well, I know that Tencent is perceived as a huge threat across the whole industry right now. Tencent is technically the biggest gaming company in the world. They got League of Legends under their belt. They pretty much run Android in China. Like like Google doesn't own Android in China. Tencent owns Android in China. So like all mobile gaming in China is pretty much Tencent, and they've got all these sort of clone games. There's like a MOBA, a huge MOBA mobile game that Tencent own in China, stuff like that. So Tencent are a force to be reckoned with, and I think like although their penetration in Anglo-centric markets isn't as apparent as maybe some of the other big heavy hitters, but they are slowly ramping up their operations in the West too, and they're seen as a big threat. So I think Microsoft. I see. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Microsoft trying to purchase Bluehole. I don't have that many sources at the moment, anyway. To be completely honest with you, most of my sources on Xbox pertain to the operating system rather than what they're doing in the games department and purchasing stuff. But um, uh, I would totally believe that they did try to strike up a more pervasive deal with Bluehole because PUBG is the hottest. It's the hottest game right now. And Bluehole had this problem of scaling. Like they couldn't scale to console fast enough to capitalize on their like huge burst of success they've had this year. So that's why they partnered with Xbox. But I guess like they've gotten to a point now where even Microsoft can't bid for control of that IP without like, you know, hurting themselves in other areas. Like for them to buy Bluehole or buy exclusive rights to PUBG, that would harm Xbox in other areas possibly. So maybe they feel like it's better for them to spread the money out a bit more. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I mean, PUBG could suddenly fall out of popularity tomorrow and disappear overnight, but I doubt that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, so what do you want to see Microsoft do? Like, what type of game would you enjoy Phil making? Like outside, and this is completely outside of like Halo 6 is coming, although it looks like Halo 6 is 2019 at this point. Gears 5 is coming, which means if Halo is 2019, Gears is 2020. So outside of like the core franchises that Xbox is known for, Gears, Forza and Halo, what do you want to see Microsoft make?
Now, there are things like things I'd like to see and things that I think are realistic, you know. And I think you probably agree with this, but I think we got a hint about what Xbox's strategies might be when they announced Age of Empires 4.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think what a good thing for Microsoft to do would be to revive classic franchises, give them the AAA treatment, and give them the attention they deserve. Make a Recore 2, but make it big budget and polish it to hell and make it epic and huge and like Horizon Zero Dawn sort of level. I mean, there was nothing wrong with Recore as an IP. The game was just totally lacking ambition. And I think like I'd just like to see more investment from them. I'd like to see AAA quality. I'd like to see Sunset Overdrive too. I'd like King Lost just said. I'd like to see sequels.
Yep.
You know, what
In
what
chat,
would you,
let
what
us
would you
know.
like to see?
Yeah, what chat? Let us know. What do you want to see from Microsoft? Because we know we're going to get a Halo Gears and Forza. I mean, that's always happening. But do you want to see a completely new IP? Do you want to see sequels to existing games? I mean, Phil says they want to invest. Like, remember, he said he had things he wanted to do: fix the hardware, do backwards compatibility, the OS stuff, Xbox Live, all that stuff. And now it's the games, which is that is the one lacking area you could say with the Xbox is the exclusive games, especially in comparison to Nintendo and Sony, or like this past year. Um, I think they're going to bring back Fable, Jez.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't know if Fable's got the
I mean, maybe it doesn't, but I don't know. Do you just remember? Okay, remember Studio Gobo?
Yep.
Do you know they split into two studios now?
Yep.
One of them. Oh, so you do know about this?
Didn't you tell me about this? Someone told me about this.
So you have Studio Gobo, which I guess is doing smaller stuff, but then they actually split into another studio called like the Electric something or other, and their focus is on making AAA games. They're making a AAA game for Ubisoft and a AAA game for Microsoft.
For
So
Ubisoft.
yeah, so they're making two AAA
Mhm.
games. So I don't know what they're gonna do exactly, but they're doing something, and there's the playground stuff. We talked about Forza Horizon 4, but today they just showed off their new home for their second studio that are, they said that they're, working on an open world action AAA RPG, which we said this months and months ago, remember? That I had heard from my sources that Playground was working on their version of The Witcher 3, basically, right?
And every studio. I'm just going to say this now for any developers who might be listening to this: don't compare your game to The Witcher 3 unless you can deliver, because you're setting yourself up for failure, buddies. But
Yeah, that is definitely true. But I mean, that's interesting, and there was rumors that they wanted Microsoft to publish the game to be exclusive, and supposedly Phil passed on it, so they had to look for a different publisher, and who knows if whatever went behind it. I mean, those are just rumors, but we know they are making some sort of AAA open world action RPG. But a lot of stuff going on, and Phil has pretty much been hammering home this idea of investing in studios and building the first party. He's mentioned it quite a bit recently over the launch of the X, the interviews right before the system came out, now like doubling down on it, on Twitter and stuff. Of course, he also mentioned that Steam's probably never coming to Xbox. Did you see that? Said there's too many like restrictions and just
it's because you know why Steam isn't coming to Xbox, man. It's because Win32 isn't coming to Xbox, and Microsoft wants to kill Win32. They don't want to give it new life by putting it on Xbox One. They want developers using UWP, and it's not because Microsoft want control of it. It's because Win32 is a pain in the ass for them to deal with. It's broken, it's old, it's bursting at the seams with crap, and it's unoptimized. UWP is new and fresh, and it is optimized, and they don't want developers building UWP games just so they go on the Windows Store. They want to put their UWP games on Steam just so they don't have to deal with Win32 anymore. Because it's a pile of junk, it's broken and hackable. That's why PC games are full of hacks, is because Win32 is full of holes, and that's why Steam's never come to Xbox, because Xbox doesn't have the Win32 libraries.
That is true.
What might happen is that they run Win32 games from the cloud and stream them to Xbox, because Windows Store does support Win32 libraries through Project Centennial and stuff like that. But that's a whole nother thing that we're not going to discuss because it's very boring. But yeah, it's complicated. It is complicated.
I want to give a shout out to Mega Bad Seed. He says he wants to get a Halo RPG, and it would be totally epic. So that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people would love to see a different take on existing franchises. Like, people love Halo, but I think maybe they're a little bit tired of Halo FPS.
Yeah,
But maybe a Halo RPG, maybe something like Gears, but a little bit different. There's so many things they could do.
Like Halo Wars didn't resonate, right? Halo Wars 2 didn't resonate. It doesn't seem to have done as well as they might have hoped. I really like Halo Wars 2, but I feel like I'm in the minority. But like there must be some sort of way that they can handle Halo spin-offs, because that Mario Rabbids XCOM clone did really well on the Switch. Like, I can't remember what it was called. Was it just called Mario Rabbids?
Mario X Rabbids Battle Kingdom or something?
Yeah, it was basically XCOM with Mario and Ubisoft Rabbids, and people loved it, and I mean, yeah, there's like a Nintendo tax on review scores where all Nintendo games get an extra point just because of Nintendo. But by all accounts, it did seem like a pretty awesome game. I would love a Halo XCOM clone. I think that'd work much better than Halo Wars did. But it's got to be the right kind of game. I think
There
you're
was
totally
that
right.
Halo Blocks game. Remember, there was like the prototype videos that came out. It was basically like Halo Legos or whatever. I mean,
Yeah, that was weird.
I mean, they're always trying stuff. It's just like matter whether or not it gets greenlit. But I mean,
Yeah.
this is big. This is important because this is what Xbox fans like. They want to know, like, what is the future of Xbox gaming wise? We have the
I tell you,
system,
I
you
tell you
know.
what, I don't think. I tell you one thing. I expect Microsoft to continue doing is to continue pushing the variety. I mean, Super Lucky's Tale might not have resonated with me because no chainsaws, but it was a game. It wasn't supposed to resonate with me. It was aimed at little kids. And I think Microsoft want to continue that tradition of having a diverse a range of genres, which is why they've greenlit Age of Empires 4. And RTS is a pretty niche genre, and it's pretty hard to get right. But they want to do it anyway because it's a classic IP. People love Age of Empires, man. I was watching like Age of Empires 2 esports on Twitch. That 25,000 viewers, which is I know that Twitch often has streams that has even more viewers than that, but 25,000 viewers for a pretty classic IP is pretty cool, I thought. And I think it's in stuff like that they realize Age of Empires has legs. And I think it'd be cool if. Do you remember that Phantom Dust CGI trailer?
Yeah,
I'd love Phantom Dust in AAA.
I would
I'd
love.
love
Yeah,
Mechasol in AAA.
yeah, if Microsoft brought those games back and stuff. But I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll find out at some point, right? Um, okay, so you know what? Let's transition to let's keep it Xbox, but let's talk about Xbox One X sales. The UK stuff and the Japanese stuff came out. Have you seen any of this stuff?
No, fill me in, man.
So in the UK, it did 80,000 first week. Um, and it was when you combined with Xbox One, it was the fourth best Xbox One week ever, only behind the launch of the Xbox One and Black Friday 2014 and 2015. So
Ooh.
it's like the fourth best Xbox week ever. And also, if you just take Xbox One X by itself, it had the 10th best debut of all time. When compared to the Pro was like 20th of all time, right? So I think it did pretty well in the UK, and Aaron Greenberg said it's doing way better in America, right? And then Japan, they sold 1,200 units.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think anybody really expected the Xbox One X to do anything in Japan because nobody expects Xbox to do anything in Japan. So
The, Japan is just a totally different beast.
it,
That they do you need visual novels in 4K? Not really.
I don't know.
I don't really. I don't know. I don't know anything about the Japanese gaming market, and I suspect Microsoft doesn't either, given what they're doing.
So I mean, what do you think about like the UK stuff? Because that tends to mirror US pretty well. It seems from like Twitter and everywhere, like everybody's like really going out and getting the X, or at least was. Do you
I
think?
tell you something. You shouldn't. Yeah. You can usually get a good idea of what how something's doing in the US from how well it does in the UK, because the UK often reports figures that the US doesn't for whatever reason. I don't know if it's something to do with our sales laws or something, but for whatever reason we get sales figures in the UK more than we get in the US. I don't know why. But the thing is, like Aaron Greenberg tweeted that the sales figures in America are much higher, obviously, because it's a bigger market. But I think it might even be higher per capita because the UK right now is about to slip back into recession and nobody's spending any money and the economy is exploding and everyone's like struggling for money. So like if it did that well in the UK, which has a really depressed economy right now, um, you know, it's bodes well for America, which isn't doing anywhere near as bad as the UK is economy wise right now. So I think it's good. It's good news either way for the American side of things.
Yeah, and then starting tomorrow, Xbox One S is going to be on sale for $189, which is a pretty good price. I just, I almost can't recommend an S for $189 because the X is just so superior to it. You know?
But that's the thing. I would never recommend an X without a 4K TV. I don't think that super sampling stuff is nearly as dramatic as people say it is, personally. And I don't know if that's because my 4K TV isn't that good or something. Um, but I just like I can't tell the difference really between the downsampled 4K images. I mean, yeah, you'll get better performance in games like City Skylines, which runs like crap on the base Xbox One, and it runs at 60 frames per second on the Xbox One X because it's got an unlocked frame rate. But it doesn't feel like the X is worth having unless you've got a 4K TV. Personally, I would recommend if someone doesn't have a 4K TV, I'd recommend they just get a base Xbox One and save their money for that big 4K leap.
I mean, maybe, but here's something I want to talk about really fast. So, PlayStation 4 and the PSVR has been on sale since like the 17th. It's $199 for the slim 1 TB, and it's like selling out everywhere. Like number one on Amazon. But like Xbox didn't do any like counterattack. Like Xbox sales starts tomorrow, and they let like a full 5 days go by where people were just buying PS4s for $199 for 5 full days. And I almost feel like why wouldn't you just drop the S to go along with that? So like, because in my mind it's like, okay, you have all these consumers waiting to spend their money, and the PS4 is on sale first for 5 days. People buy it, and it's like, well, now the S is on sale, but you just bought a PlayStation. Maybe there's no need for an Xbox. Like, I don't understand that. Do you understand like that at all, or maybe why they waited? Because I don't get it.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't get it, Jez. I don't
I,
understand.
I don't know.
Um,
Maybe they didn't have the units. I don't
it's
know.
possible, but it's I mean, this is the holiday season. Remember when Microsoft would talk about how the whole rest of the year was pre-game and this was the real game, you know, like November and December. I mean, you can't say like they didn't have the units. I mean, they basically Microsoft's the whole Xbox strategy was do decently during the January through September, October basically, and then kick it up a notch in November and December.
Mm.
Either way, I want to ask you this question though: who's going to win November MPD? Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox?
I think Nintendo come first because it's the hot item,
It
you know,
is.
and little kids want it, and there are a lot of parents buying stuff for their kids this Christmas. It's Nintendo Switch's first Christmas, and I think the Nintendo Switch is going to absolutely dominate.
All right, second, third, done.
I think Xbox is going to be second, definitely, and then PlayStation will be third. But I don't know if that boost will remain in time. I mean, it's always it's always going to be a good month when you launch a new console. You know, it's always going to be a good month. But
Yeah.
Switch is just it's almost like the perfect console right now.
Yeah. So, chat, make sure you type in there. Which one do you think is going to be first? Who's going to win MPD? I know a lot of Xbox fans are crossing their fingers that Xbox is going to take it, but I'm with Jez on this one. I think Nintendo is they're basically like the Elmo of like that toy or that thing that you absolutely have to have.
Yeah.
And I always kind of said I thought maybe Xbox would come in second. I thought maybe the extra X's that they would sell in addition to the S being on sale would push them over PlayStation. But man, letting the PlayStation 4 Slim be on sale for almost a full week at $199, I don't know. I mean, like Sony could have pushed a ton of those. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see Xbox number 2 and Sony number 3, or Sony number 2 and Xbox number 3. So
Yeah, but this is the thing, you know, I don't really follow the NPD stuff anymore because of how irrelevant it's become. You know, I mean, Nintendo might win NPD, but they ain't making as much money as Microsoft. PlayStation might win NPD, but they ain't making as much money as Microsoft. You know, it's not. It's no longer the health. It's no longer the you know the barometer by which you judge the health of an ecosystem anymore.
yeah, I
It's
mean, I guess
monthly active users, quote unquote.
you're
So,
right on that.
Alienware Alpha Mouse says that Ouya is going to make a comeback.
Ooh, the Ouya. Um, so the Game Awards, Jazz. Let's talk about this real fast. What do you think of their choices for Game of the Year?
I don't know them
You don't
because
know.
I know
Wow.
it's a big pile of corporate crap, and
Okay.
it's not doesn't really have any true merit.
Okay. So Game of the Year, according to the Game Awards, the Jeff Keighley show, is Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Super
Oh,
Mario Odyssey,
Shock.
Persona 5, Horizon Zero Dawn,
Yeah.
and PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
Oh, I remember people kicking off about this. Say, I was heads down in my Battlefront 2 review, so I just didn't really get involved in all this stuff. But people were upset about PUBG being nominated for Game of the Year when it's still in game preview.
Yep, there are a lot of people upset about that.
Where do you sit on this side of the debate, man?
I see both sides. I see the argument of like, how can you have a game that's not finished be included in that argument, right? How can a game which is really just one game mode and one map be included with those, right? So I see all that stuff, but then also it is a tangible product you can buy. You know, you give $30, you can play it. It is. I mean, the importance of the game is not understated. It's going to be the best selling game of the year. It's going to outsell everything. And that was, if you'd have said last year that a no-name indie game with no marketing would outsell Destiny 2, Call of Duty, and Star Wars Battlefront 2, people would have laughed at you, but that's essentially the case, right? It's the impact on the industry, I think, is so influential that it almost has to be there, because every single game going forward is going to have some sort of copycat mode, right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the whole game preview, quote unquote, thing, it's just semantics at the end of the day. You know, it's still a game that is available now at the end of the day, and you can buy it with real money, and it's a game that is available that came out this year. So just because Steam invented a way for developers to sell their game in an unpolished fashion, that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be eligible for Game of the Year award. And that's a bit of a contradiction, because I don't review games that are still in game preview, because it's like they're unfinished. But should I be informing people whether or not they should buy them, even though they're not finished? It's a bit weird, you know. And ultimately, game preview, it's just a marketing thing. It's just a way for a developer to cash flow an unfinished game.
Yeah.
Because if you're not cash flowing your game up front, then you are making a significant investment risk, because you don't have any cash coming in. And Gigantic had this problem. They were spending so much money developing the game that they couldn't get the game in front of people fast enough to start making money into microtransactions. And as a free-to-play game, they basically killed it. And Motiga as a studio no longer exists. But Perfect World shut them down.
I think this is also a popularity thing. It's the most popular game. Like, I know people love Mario and Zelda and all that stuff, but and Horizon Zero Dawn and Persona, but PUBG is way more popular than all of those. I mean,
yeah, it is.
And how you quantify that is by the sales. Mario's not going to sell 20 million copies, and neither is any of those other games. So, I mean, you could argue it's a popularity contest. You know what? I want, and hear me out before you call me an X-bot, because I know some people will. I'm kind of rooting for PUBG to win, but not the reason you think. I'm rooting for PUBG to win because I want to watch the world burn.
That's a
because
good reason. I'm
you
done with
know that you damn well know everybody's gonna cry. The Nintendo fans will cry because it beat out Zelda and Mario, right?
Zelda's. We all know Zelda's gonna win.
I
So
don't know. I
this
think
is why I
Mario
don't.
got it.
This is why. Well, it's either gonna be Mario or Zelda. This is why I don't watch these shows because they're so predictable. You know, it's Mario Zelda is gonna win because uh, people who judge these shows are of a certain age. They grew up of a certain console and have a certain level of nostalgia for these titles. And I'm not trying to say these titles are bad by any means, but it's kind of like it's kind of obvious that to me that these games, if these games were exactly the same and they're the exact same kind of characters, but just a different IP without the nostalgia factor, they wouldn't be getting the kind of reviews they get. No way. Even if they were exactly the same. And you could argue that the IP is part of the game's charm, but like just imagine that it was basically a Zelda clone, and it was exactly the same in every way except for the Zelda name. It wouldn't get the same review scores, and it wouldn't be getting the same accolades that it's going to get. Basically, I'm going to be doing my own game awards, the Jez Game Awards, the best games 2017, and The Witcher 3 is going to win. And I don't care that The Witcher 3 didn't come out this year because it's the best game every year, forever.
Did you see the stuff that they were saying about like kind of directed it to EA, how they said they leave greed to others?
Oh, that I swear that quote will bite them in the ass one day because
Yeah, because there's CEOs like, yeah, we're looking at multiplayer and also microtransactions and loot boxes. So
Gwent has loot boxes in it, and yeah, it's a free to play game, but it still has loot boxes in it. So it's not like they're completely alien to the concept of loot boxes. And also, Cyberpunk's supposed to have some sort of multiplayer component with a live service. How are they going to fund that without some sort of a microtransaction model? So I think that quote will come and bite them in the ass one day.
yeah, I agree. I think so as well. But all right, so let's talk about EA and Star Wars. But before we get into that,
Ooh, I
Respawn.
just got to psych myself up a bit.
Respawn.
Okay.
So it came out last week. We didn't do the show, but one of the big news was that EA bought Respawn for like $400 million. A lot of Xbox fans were like, "Wait a minute,
400 million?
it was like 455 million or something."
God,
A
I
lot,
didn't know that much.
a lot of Xbox fans were like, "Wait a minute, Phil just talked about buying studios. Respawn would have been a great addition. They have a IP that resonated at least early in their gen with Titanfall. They're a great developer. They would have fit well." And then, of course, through like Jason Scheer's reporting, like EA had first right of refusal on all takeover offers, which Nexon put in a bid, and EA had 30 days to match or exceed to get it or let them buy it. And it's interesting because the timeline works out where they were notified of the bid, and then they shut down Visceral, and then they bought Respawn. So there are rumors going around that Visceral was shut down so that EA could buy Respawn. What do you think about all this, Jez?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Visceral hadn't really. Visceral didn't really have any IP left that was sort of, was going to make EA the kind of money that it wants. Dead Space. I love Dead Space. I love the Dead Space IP. Dead Space 3 was terrible. I think to come back from Dead Space 3 would be such a huge risk and investment that EA is just not the kind of publisher that will do that. So, and then the Visceral studio head, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I think it was Steve Papustis or something like that.
Yeah, no, yeah.
He left the studio a couple of years ago, and I think without him as a driving force for that sort of IP, there was no way Visceral was going to get back on Dead Space. So, I mean, it's super sad that Visceral was shut down because obviously, like I say, Dead Space was one of my favorite IP from last gen. Dante's Inferno was also a really great underrated game from last gen, which isn't on backwards compatibility yet for some weird reason. They should get on that. But I think in the world of business, it was probably a smart decision for EA. And it's like King Loss said, Respawn. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Timefall, honestly. Like, I barely played the multiplayer. I mean, I played the first game quite a bit, but then one day I just got bored of it and never touched it again. Titanfall 2, I really disliked the fundamental changes they did to Titans, where they were a lot squishier, and I couldn't get into it because of that. So, but you can't deny the talent of Respawn. I mean, the reason that Titanfall 2 did poorly was because EA launched it in between Call of Duty and Battlefield 1 and its own game. And you have to wonder if EA did that on purpose to make their bargaining position stronger.
Uh-oh, conspiracy theory, Alex Jones.
Conspiracy theory. Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past EA to do any of that stuff, dude. You know?
I mean, why else would they do that? They've got to have known that was a bad idea. Every single armchair dev on Twitter knows that was a stupid thing to do.
Yeah. Well, now we have them basically confirming Titanfall 3 is real and that they're also working on a Star Wars game. After that, I'm assuming they'll just shut down Respawn as they tend to do with all their studios. The clock is ticking on this one.
Clock is ticking on BioWare with Anthem too.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. So let's the whole microtransaction stuff with Star Wars, like EA's really kicked the hornet's nest on this one, haven't they? Like they have people so upset that now regulatory governments are look like Hawaii. It was like, oh, we can't, we need to shut this down because it's like a Star Wars casino for kids, and Belgium's like loot boxes are gambling, and I think I saw something like from some like Victoria, like I think in Australia or something. I'm not sure, but they were like, yeah, it's gambling. This whole stuff, like getting Disney involved, because I don't know if you saw the thing where like Disney called up them and was like, yo, what is going on? Why are we Star Wars being like Jez? What is going on with Star Wars? Like honestly, what's going on with this whole microtransaction loot box stuff? Have we reached like mass like mass effect on like what is going on with all this stuff, man?
I was actually thinking about this earlier. I was thinking like, what if they just I mean, there are a lot of more knowledgeable people than me that have given out information about this, and like, shout out to Z Huge on Twitter because he retweets a lot of really good, insightful, like facts about the industry that a lot of commentators and just simply don't care for facts quite often. I'm guilty of it myself sometimes, but it's like all this sort of stuff with SpongeBob. Yeah, I did buy hundreds of dollars worth of Overwatch loot boxes. I'm sorry, but a lot of this stuff, like Belgium saying they're gonna shut down loot boxes and stuff. It's like this isn't going to lead to the death of loot boxes. Z Huge tweeted something saying that like China has laws against some of this stuff, and developers like they found ways around it. They or the the developer or EA or whatever paid for a license and they carried on doing it. And I think the fact of the matter is there's so much money at stake for these loot box mechanics that I think EA would rather squeeze out the core gamer and keep making games with loot boxes in than pander to the angry Reddit fans and the angry Twitter people. The people like us who care about games being pure and having a fair experience and stuff. Most people don't care, The vast majority of people don't care. We are the minority. We are the passionate 5%, the loud minority. But the weird thing about Battlefront 2 controversy is that it did sort of slip into the mainstream a bit. And you got outlets like CNN covering it and BBC covering it. It's a bit unprecedented. And I saw a great tweet the other day, and I can't remember who said it. But shout out to that person who did. He tweeted something like, I bet every single executive is really pissed at EA for going too far and shining a spotlight on this now. Because they have, I wrote in my review, they didn't just cross the line, Rand. They blew it up with the Death Star, man.
They sure did.
They have burn some serious bridges. And every time you think, every time there's a tiny little hint EA might be getting better. Like they help fund Unravel, which is a beautiful little indie game, and they're helping the little guy, and you think, oh, that's nice of EA. Or like they greenlit Mirror's Edge Catalyst, and you think, wow, that was a struggling IP. I'm surprised EA would bring that back for fans of Mirror's Edge. And you think like there's a little hope that EA might be less shit, but then they go and do something like this and prove that they are incapable of not being shit.
Hey, shout out to the 294 people. We had like 310 in here, but I'm only seeing 100 likes, Jazz.
Oh man, I need more likes.
Only 300 people
More dislikes.
100 likes. I mean, come on, guys, hit that like button. Show your support for the show. Dude, let me ask you this question because I get this a lot and I see it everywhere. Are loot boxes gambling?
I mean, from the way I feel about it is, yes, they are gambling because you're paying money. Well, okay, the paid loot boxes are gambling because you're paying money and you don't know what you're going to get. And
Yeah,
how
but
is that different from a slot
because
machine?
what the reward you get has to be able to be monetized or sold to be able to. Michael Pachter was
That's
talking
the
about.
That's the regulatory
Well, I mean,
definition.
people want it regulated. Wouldn't that be like
But that's the thing. There's this disparity. There's a disparity between what the regulatory definition of gambling is and what the psychological definition of gambling is. And if you are getting the same psychological high and addictive feelings of playing a slot machine, and there are people out there who have issues with gambling. They have issues with the flashing
but Jazz, people
lights
have
and
issues
blah
with
blah blah.
alcohol too. I mean, like,
Yeah, okay, maybe it's like let adults be adults and stuff like that. But the thing is, Battlefront 2 is rated 16. 16
okay,
year olds can't gamble. So that shit needs to be 18. Needs to be an 18, you know. And I bet your ass if EA wouldn't want to risk an 18 rated game because that all developers want to avoid the 18 rating.
so what do you think will happen here? So they had that phone call with Disney. Disney was like, "Yo, we got a movie coming out, son. Like, you better do something about this." They removed microtransactions. They say they're coming back at some point. I would assume early next year, January, after
It's
the
got to be sooner
movie.
than that
No,
because
no, they're not gonna. They're not gonna do any. They don't want. Disney's not gonna want any bad news. That movie comes out December 15th. They don't want any bad Star Wars equals
dude,
gambling thing. So it'll be at.
Battlefront 2 will be dead by 2018 if they
Then
don't
nobody
do
will
something
care
now.
when they reintroduce microtransactions in that game in January. Then I'm telling you right now, like it won't happen until 2018. There's no way Disney is gonna want that sort of stuff when the movie's out, right?
It's
Um,
it's funny, you know, man, because EA they put out all that statement. They did the Reddit AMA where they were like, "Yeah, we're going to change the progression system. Blah blah blah. We're taking into account blah blah blah. Yes, we do have cosmetic systems coming into play." They showed some concept art of like a stormtrooper with like paint on him, like from the Clone Wars stuff and all that sort of stuff. And but since then, they haven't said a damn word,
no, they've
which
been.
is weird.
You know,
Uh,
Patreon Raleigh brings up an interesting point here, Jez. And I saw you say something else on Twitter the other day. If EA did this with Star Wars, I wonder if it's going to affect Anthem sales or the game.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It totally sucked out any hype I had for Anthem because they've been so aggressive with Battlefront 2, and they thought like people love Star Wars so much they will put up with this bullshit, and to a degree they did that with the last Battlefront as well. They were like, people love Star Wars so much they will put up with like having a crappy arcade system instead of a campaign, blah 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 blah, and it didn't work. And you had, I loved Battlefront One, like the not the original, the EA's Battlefront One. It was like it was a great game. You know, it was casual, it was arcadey, it was great to pick up and play. And you know, I played the arcade modes with my little cousin, and it was a lot of fun. You know, but it was a shallow game, and that was my central criticism of it. And I gave it 7 out of 10, and I was like, these are all the things they need to fix, blah blah blah. And it seemed like they had done that. Like they had added more depth to the combat. They had made the space battle mode that everyone might whined about, and they made the space combat really good. And then they put all this microtransaction bullshit in, which completely strangles the entire game because it works across the entire game. Every single mode has this progression system which you can pay to circumvent, which negates any sense of accomplishment and achievement from the proceedings, and also makes it a horrible soul-crushing grind when you get to about level 25. And
Yeah,
I can't help but feel like EA thought they could get away with it because it's Star Wars, but they were wrong, because they couldn't get away with it because it's Star Wars, because Star Wars fans are psychotically passionate. And the backlash over this game is bigger. It's almost as big as 2013 Xbox backlash. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
I
compared that.
Reddit.
I compared that in my video about this because the only time I've seen this kind of organized protest was with the stuff that Xbox was trying to do, and both times I feel like, you know, it was the decision to reverse it was made purely on the sense of like, yeah, like the pre-order numbers are extremely low. We need to do something because even like I think I saw Pactor say something, and Z Huge and a lot of other people are like, yeah, day one sales for this game are well below what it was for the first game. Like even the UK sales are 60% down, not including digital because they don't cover digital over there. But there's a sense that this game's not going to touch the sales of the original, and that's like, dude, this is a sure thing. This is Star Wars. You added a campaign. The movie's coming out. And yet, anything everybody wanted to talk about was the loot boxes.
It's the biggest. It's the biggest fuck up. It's the biggest fuck up since the 2013 Xbox. You're totally right to compare them.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge DICE fan, man. I buy every Battlefield game. I buy Battlefield Premium because I feel like you get such huge epic maps. It feels like it's value for money for me. For me, it was a sure thing, like you say. It was DICE at their best, and they just shipped Battlefield 1, which I think it's my favorite shooter, maybe of all time. My favorite multiplayer shooter of all time, beating maybe Unreal Tournament 99. I've had so much fun with Battlefield 1. I thought that Battlefront 2, they couldn't fuck it up, and it's just even beyond the hatred for EA. It's just as a guy who's passionate about Star Wars, and as a guy who's passionate about gaming and passionate about shooters, and as someone who uses games to pass the time when I'm not working, it's such a crushing disappointment because this whole year I was expecting Battlefront 2 to be my go-to game for the foreseeable, and I just know that it's not going to be now because of how terrible the progression system is.
You know, I knew it was bad when I had the digital deluxe version, so I had the 3 days early access, and sometimes it was hard to get a game in some of the modes. And I was like, man, like this isn't. I'm sure they're. Here's the thing, though. Do you think? Because part of me is wondering, like, you know, obviously hindsight, right? They stripped all the stuff out the day before of the launch, right? But all the reviews are already out. The EA Access trial's out. The deluxe version is out on both systems. What made them go from having the AMA and Reddit, where they're like, yeah, we're constantly looking at tweaking stuff, to literally the next day being like, it's gone? Like, I know like Disney called them and stuff, but wouldn't you have think it would have been better for the game if they got rid of that stuff before the EA Access trial hit, so it would never have blown up? Because that's when it kind of started to, when people got access to the EA trial and saw like, yo, Darth Vader's 60,000. Yo, the progression system's terrible. Yo, look at all this crap in here. And then the reviews reflected that because they had to talk about it. It's, you know,
Well, this is the thing, you see. The reviews didn't reflect that because, to start with, the Metacritic score was around 8 out of 10. And there were a bunch of outlets like myself who did a review in progress because the game was huge and I didn't have a chance to play the story mode yet, blah blah blah. And I was still trying to get a feel for how much of a grind it was going to be because, for example, in Shadow of War, you don't really feel the grind of Shadow of War until the fourth act. So it wasn't until the fourth act that I felt like the micropayment system they put in Shadow of War influenced the way they structured the gameplay loop because they want you to feel bored and want you to buy loot crates. I am convinced Shadow of War is designed to be boring to make you buy loot crates because there is no excuse for how boring Act 4, Act 5 and beyond is in Shadow of War. It's mind-numbingly, depressingly boring. The only explanation I can come up with is that they did it for loot crates, blah blah blah. And it's the same in Battlefront 2. You get to level 25 and you hit a wall, and it's like, oh shit, I can't progress anymore. Waiting for these random fucking cards, and waiting for tiny little handouts of crafting parts. You know, it's like, what? How am I supposed to score this? They've designed it to try and make me pay more money, you know, on top of the $60 I paid. Well, I didn't pay, but for in a customer mindset, that is what they're asking customers to do, is to buy the $60 game and then pay for the right to play it optimally. It's sickening, man. And even if there's loads of people who defend EA over this because they want to love the game, and I get that feeling. I get the feeling that they want to love the game, and a lot of people say you don't need to buy the loot crates. You don't need to buy the loot crates. It's the precedent, man. It's the precedent. They are setting a precedent where a rich gamer can be better than a poor gamer, and that fucking sickens me.
When I was playing, there was parts where I was like, dude, this guy has purple cards who literally has 30% more health, 30% faster, and has 30 and can take 30% more damage. How is that fair by any stretch of the imagination? Like, all you need to do is spend some money, and you too can be at that level. It's
even worse in the Starfire mode because some of the cards just give you a flat damage bonus.
Yeah,
it's like you deal more damage if you've got this epic card, which you can get by paying for it. It's just shit, man.
I wonder though,
so depressing.
How much is this because they decided they didn't want a season pass? Like, let's roll back to when they said, when they talked about the game originally and were like, we're not going to have a season pass, everything's going to be free. Let's say they adopted the Battlefield 1 model and did a $60 season pass again. Do you think this is still there? Or do you think it's just like Battlefield 1 where you can kind of like, can't you like buy like just buy everything for a class if you wanted to with like $20 or whatever it is?
Well, the thing is, what they're doing, they're kind of sneaky in Battlefield. They wait a few months before they put that skip pack in, and you can argue a point there. It's like, yeah, I bought Battlefield 1 in a sale 6 months after the fact. I'm really far behind everyone. EA is giving me the opportunity to skip ahead. You can almost argue that as an okay, but they didn't have those skip ahead packs during the time I was playing it hardcore in the first few months of the game. I don't know when they implemented those, but by the time they implemented those, most of the hardcore players had earned that sort of loot anyway, so nobody really cared. And the thing is, that loot doesn't really make you more powerful in Battlefield anyway. It doesn't give you a flat damage bonus. I mean, people say that the Hell Regal gun is overpowered, but it wasn't intended to be overpowered. And I never used that gun, and I never felt it was overpowered.
So do you think this is because they didn't have the season pass, or do you think this is because of something else? Because Need for Speed Payback has a card system as well that, that's kind of slipped under the radar. People aren't talking about as much because everything's talking about Star Wars. What do you think? I mean, was it because they wanted to keep everything together, so they made a game where it was like loot boxes are integral to the system? Or if they had done the Battlefield approach, would loot boxes not really have been there, essentially? I don't know.
It's hard to say, because I know EA makes a lot of money on Battlefield Premium, right? And the Battlefield's loot boxes, they come with like XP bonuses and and cosmetic upgrades and stuff like that. But it's still, the game always just feels balanced because the guns aren't more powerful; they're just different. But the difference in Battlefront was that the guns are more powerful and the star cards are more powerful. You can become more powerful by paying for extra money, by paying for progression, and that's where people get pissed, and that's why Battlefield gets away with it. And I think that's why DICE doesn't try to fuck with Battlefield's formula, because Battlefield is regarded as a relatively competitive game. Whereas Battlefront, they were hoping that enough casual Star Wars fans would buy the game and nobody would notice. But the problem is, a lot of Battlefield players secretly wanted a Star Wars Battlefield game. I know I did. And
take some questions. I gotta run upstairs real quick. All right.
Okie dokie. Well, guys,
Or keep talking about Star Wars since you love it so much.
Yeah, I could do, but it's also wearing me down and making me depressed. So, guys, while Randy's AFK for a couple of minutes, do you want to drop any questions in? I'll drop some game codes in chat while I'm bored, waiting for Rand to return. Let's have a look. What have I got here? Got some game keys. Here's a game key right here. I got game keys for days, guys. I can give you game keys forever. Well, I could if my mouse was working properly anyway. Sing a song, Jez. No, I will not sing a song because I don't want people to leave. So that's not a good idea. I think we'll skip that. Alexander Chirac says net neutrality. I don't want to talk about net neutrality because I'll get even more angry than I am about loot crates. But yeah, America, sort it out. Sort it out, guys. That's all I'll say on that subject. I'm just looking over the Battlefront subreddit, and there's still no information about how they're going to change things. Todd McDane just says, Jez, isn't the Elite controller an unfair advantage? Honestly, kind of. It's like I don't have an Elite controller right now, but genuinely, like when I did have an Elite controller, and I broke mine, which is why I don't have it anymore. But it wasn't the paddles that I felt was an unfair advantage. It's the hair trigger lock, because you can lock the triggers. It means you can shoot faster. And in Battlefield 1, where a lot of the guns aren't automatic, it can make you shoot really, really fast, especially if you're playing the medic class. So it does feel like it gives you a bit of an advantage. But the thing is, you can buy third-party hair trigger locks that cost like $5. And you literally just pop the plastic off the back of your controller and pop on these hair trigger locks, and they work exactly the same as the Elite controller hair trigger locks. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like saying gamers will do things to get an advantage. I had a hilarious email. I had a hilarious email recently, and it was for a gamer supplement. And it was like, if gamers eat this, they will gain faster reaction speeds and all this sort of stuff. And it was like, wow, are these guys trying to get me to review drugs or something? Let's have a look. Blah, blah, blah. Jez, what do you think about the Razer phone? Tag the Steam says, I've used the Razer phone. I used it at IFA last summer. And for those who don't know, the Razer phone is an Android phone made by Razer, who make gaming laptops and that sort of thing. The cool thing about the Razer phone is that it's got a 120 hertz screen. So it's got like crazy refresh rates and it looks like really fluid. But also it's got FreeSync for the screen. So the refresh rate of the phone can drop to match the game and thus save battery life. So like, like mobile games usually drain your battery really badly. The Razer phone has a 4400 milliamp hour battery in it, and it's also got this screen refresh rate syncing technology. So like, it's actually like the best mobile phone for Android gaming. But I hate Android gaming because touchscreen controllers really suck. So, and also the Razer phone has a terrible camera, which means I will never ever buy it because I'm pretty much a big fan of cameras. So I'm pretty happy with my BlackBerry Key 1 Android phone at the moment because The camera is pretty good on that phone. Yeah, I'm gonna drop some codes. Bear with me. Right, let's drop a code right now. Get ready, guys. Here comes a code drop. I wonder where Rand has gone. Right, here's a code. Guess the missing character. Good luck. Scrolling up. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Hey Jez, how long does an online competitive community for an online shooter card usually last before the service closes down due to lack of audience? That's a hard question because obviously it depends on the game. I mean, there are still people playing Unreal Tournament 99, which came out almost 20 years ago. Wow, that's depressing. Thinking about how long ago that was. So and people still play Age of Empires 2 and stuff like that. And if there's enough people who want to play those games, they'll put up their own servers. And we saw this recently with World of Warcraft, where some fans of vanilla World of Warcraft made a pirated server and stuff like that to keep the game going, and eventually Blizzard decided to just add their own classic servers because there was a big enough audience. So I don't know. It depends on the game. There's no set formula for that. Octavia, phones have FreeSync now. No, only the Razer phone has FreeSync, and it's not true FreeSync. It's like a Razer proprietary technology. Yeah, so that's a cool thing. Jez, have you heard about Final Fantasy Windows PC texture pack for the X? No, I haven't, I'm afraid, but I could ask Square Enix PR because they are pretty awesome to me, actually. So I'll try and get that answered. Follow me on Twitter at Jez Corden if you want to find out the answer to that question. Here's another one. Will Xbox One X get mixed reality? That's a really good question. There's an interesting thing that happens if you've got a Windows mixed reality headset. When you plug the Windows mixed reality headset into an Xbox One, an angry-looking 3D Clippy appears on the screen. It's so weird. It's like Microsoft knows people are trying to interface Windows mixed reality with their Xbox, and they added Clippy, an angry-looking Clippy, if you try and do that. So I do think that Windows mixed reality will come to Xbox eventually. The Xbox is powerful enough to run Windows mixed reality, and Windows mixed reality is 100% UWP based, which UWP obviously works on the Xbox One. I just think it's a case of how long is it going to take for Microsoft to get Windows mixed reality into a place where they think it can run on the console. Sorry. Phil Spencer said in an interview that they want to do wireless headsets. They want to do wireless VR headsets before putting it on the X, because people in their living rooms and stuff, you don't want wires draping all over the place. But the thing is, I don't think they should wait for that. I think they should just do it now, because mixed reality right now is an enthusiast's thing, and if enough people want it, I think they should just go ahead and do it. It would help the paradigm grow, and I think Microsoft is doing mixed reality a disservice by not putting it on Xbox. I might write an article about that, actually. I'm going to write an article about that next week, that Microsoft should just put mixed reality on the X right now. Connor James says, did you try Halo Recruit? No, I haven't tried Halo Recruit yet. I'm going to download that right now, actually. I'm going to do it right now. In mixed reality, I've played Job Simulator on Steam VR, which is hilarious. It's literally what it says. It's a job simulator. Arizona Sunshine, which is a zombie apocalypse game. It's super fun, super immersive. You just shoot zombies in a sort of Arizona desert setting, and you can go through houses and open drawers and scavenge ammo and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's stunning. I've also played Super Hot VR, which is super cool if you played Super Hot. It's basically it's not Super Hot, but in VR it's a different game. But you can still like punch your enemies with the motion controllers, and when you physically move, it moves time forward like in Super Hot for Xbox One. Super awesome. And that sort of stuff. So I am excited about mixed reality, and I'm going to write an article next week that Microsoft need to bring it as soon as possible. Scrolling up, Fat Gamer Guy 24 says, Jez, should Microsoft do Fable reboot and make it more serious? That's a hard one for me to answer, because I'm not personally, I'm not super invested in Fable. I'm not super invested in the Fable franchise, and I'm not that familiar with it. I didn't play Fable 3. I played Fable 1 and 2. I didn't like Fable 2 very much. Fable 1 was pretty cool, but I really didn't like Fable 2 very much at all. I do think the IP is interesting and it has legs, and I do think that with the right developer, it could be something far more than it already is. I do agree that I do think that it could benefit from a reboot as long as it kept the sort of same humor, but maybe it could be like a little bit darker, almost like a Tim Burton sort of thing. Like you got Tim Burton movies where they're like that, yeah, they're humorous and stuff, but they're still pretty dark. I think that could work for Fable, especially as fans of the original Fable game are all grown up now. So maybe that could be a good angle for it. Um, let's scroll up again. Jez, have you tried Ghost Recon's PvP mode, Ghost War? It's really great in my superior opinion. I haven't tried it yet, actually. I'm gonna download it and I'll give that a go. I'll probably tweet about that. I did actually try Ghost Recon. I did try Ghost Recon Wildlands on the X, and man, it looks stunning. I was kind of annoyed how ugly Wildlands was because they chose to have draw distance instead of visual fidelity, which is fine. But at the same time, it made the game look really blurry. Like the resolution was super bad on the base Xbox One. So on the Xbox One X, it really does come into its own. Jez, have you played the Connect remasters? No, I haven't. I'm afraid. I played Zoo Tycoon at Gamescom, and I think I like the changes they've done to Zoo Tycoon. They've lifted the build limit a bit, which is nice, but it's still not really. They're just not my kind of games, really. I don't like Connect games because I don't like exercise. Oh man. Jez, do you think there should be a Halo horror game developed by Creative Assembly? Yes, I do. I think that'd be amazing. Alien Isolation is like one of those underrated sort of sleeper hit classics. And it was a great game. I think like imagine a horror game where you play as an ODST and you're trying to escape from a flood infested installation. I think that could work really well. Um, if no one has given Microsoft a free pass, then where the hell are the? That's not a question. Would Doom 2016 VR be good? I think Doom 2016 VR would be nausea-inducing because it's so fast-paced. I think the best VR games are very slow-paced. Like even Minecraft VR gave me motion sickness just because like when you're moving around and your head is disconnected from your lateral movement, it induces motion sickness, which is not good, for a game. So a Doom VR would seriously give people vomit everywhere, all over the walls and stuff.
Would it give a people vomit?
If Doom 2016 in VR, that would be vomit-inducingly fast-paced.
I think it's on PSVR now, isn't it?
Doom?
Yeah, Doom 2016. So.
Seriously? They made it in VR? Oh god, it is for Oculus Rift. That's crazy. VFR, it's called virtual fucking reality. I didn't know that. So I bet that makes people feel sick because Minecraft makes me feel sick. That's too fast paced. Cockpit stuff is okay, yeah, Octavia. I think VR games where you're sitting still, they don't give me motion sickness. But VR games when you are in motion, like Minecraft, they give me really bad motion sickness. I don't know what they can do to fix that.
Right. Well, thanks for holding down the fort, Jez. Appreciate it.
No problem, buddy.
I know it's a little bit late where you are, so hopefully you got your Star Wars angst out while I was gone. So I hope it was therapeutic. And
it was.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a couple of co-op questions and then call it a night?
Oh, sure. What type of questions?
I don't know. There's still people dropping questions in the chat.
Oh yeah, I mean we can answer a couple more, and then we will get out of here and try to enjoy the Thanksgiving weekend.
I won't because we don't do Thanksgiving in England.
That's right, because we beat you.
Is that what? I don't know. Can you? This is off topic, but what is Thanksgiving? I don't know what it is.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's got turkeys in it. It's got booze.
I think it's supposed to be when Christopher Columbus discovered the United States or something, isn't it? I don't know.
Was it Christopher Columbus? I don't know anything about him.
I mean, supposedly. I isn't that the whole thing with like, they're all eating like big, huge dinner with the Native Americans and stuff. So
I don't know.
Pilgrims and whatnot,
The only thing I know about Thanksgiving is that Simpsons episode where Bart throws Lisa's paper mache thing in the fire and then runs away. That's all I know about Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really look like there's any more questions, so we're going to head on out of here. I want to thank everybody for hanging on by. Really appreciate it. Sorry we missed last week, but we're back. We'll be back next week for another show. A lot of stuff to always talk about on this stuff, and I hope everybody has a fantastic Thanksgiving wherever you are. Right. Who knows what Thanksgiving is then? Who even knows these days? I don't know. Whatever. What is Christmas about? Right?
It's presents.
Oh yeah. Presents. Make sure you follow Jez on Twitter. Link is always in the description of the video, so you can check out Jez and check out his articles on Windows Central. You got any stuff planned coming up soon on Windows Central, perhaps? Or?
We are actually doing Windows Central Game Awards this year, which is fun.
Oh, so that's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I'm doing my own Windows Central Game Awards. Last year I did the Jez Game Awards, and I gave Josh Stein from Xbox an award for having an epic beard, and I gave Flame and Flood Game of the Year.
All right, so make sure you check out those Game of the Year awards from Jez and the crew at Windows, Windows Central, Windows Gaming. As for myself, I'll be posting another video later tonight, and whenever I feel like it, basically. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we will see everybody next week for episode 32 of the Xbox 2. Who knows what next week will bring? Maybe new, maybe who knows? Anyways, guys, have a fantastic holiday tomorrow, and have a great weekend. Later.